Talk about a crazy day. We've got wild stories plus your questions. So let's get started.
We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy and the guys who are the kleptocracies of Putin's kleptocracy.
Well, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is the Friday free-for-all. Yes, it is, folks. We've made it through another week. It has hit the fan, no doubt. Friday free-for-all means you get to ask your questions. What is on your mind? Well, I still get to do my part too, my monologue. But what we'll do is we'll intersperse it, right? I'll go along with my stuff, and then pow, I'll say, Jolene, what do our patrons want to talk about? And for you on Patreon, right, I want to thank you for being here. So get your questions in. I'll give you a couple more minutes here. And for everyone who gets to watch tomorrow on YouTube, right, I'll have something for you right here to explain some things. But the benefit of being on Patreon is for $2 a month, you get to be on live Monday through Friday. No extra cost. Now, I do want to say thanks for everyone who has hit the thank you button. Not needed, though, to ask questions on Monday through Friday Q&A. Anyways, yeah, Patreon, what's that all about? Here's the deal. Let's get into it, folks. There is some incredible garbage going on out there. Are you prepared? Do you have what you need to survive a power outage, a fuel shortage, a food shortage, water disruption? Do you have what's needed? Folks, get this. They're pushing for this war, not between Russia and Ukraine anymore. They have that. Now they're pushing for an extended, long-term, forever Cold War. So much so, they're pissing Russia off so much, they're saying, hey, are you guys in the West asking for a nuclear war? Is that what you're asking for? Well, understand who is pushing the buttons and why. This is about power, money, and control. This is about controlling us, the people, and taking away our nations. Now, let's just look at this little story here. Ukraine says they've spent 8.3 billion US dollars. That's your dollars. They spent $8.3 billion on the war so far. This is Zelensky, folks. He is addressing Davos, the World Economic Forum, right? How many of you said to yourselves, how many people out there said to themselves that when I linked Volodymyr Zelensky to the World Economic Forum, that I was making a stretch, that I was kind of tossing in my own ideas about who was pulling Zelensky's chain, that I grossly exaggerated the unity among the political, banking, and wealthy rich corporations? Who said that? Probably not you guys. But I bet a bunch of trolls were saying that. Oh, John's making shit up. Here we have it, folks. That's right. Voldemort himself, the little turd of Ukraine, is addressing the World Economic Forum. Why would there be any need for the leader of an embattled and invaded country? Why would there be a need for him to address a bunch of billionaire control freaks. Well, I stand exonerated. And I also stand 100% ready to do battle, politically speaking, using my First Amendment rights to point out what is going on. There is no need, folks. There's no reason. There's no justification for this little turd to be all over the media, mainstream media, all over the political stream, all over the business and financial streams, begging for money, begging for support, begging for everyone else to be in this war that he is ultimately the fall guy for. Does he really think he's going to come out of this smelling like roses? Right? Typically, that's not how these things end, right? Same with Finland. Finland is being played like a fiddle. Right? I talked about Finland earlier. Finland, Russia is now ready to cut their electricity, folks. Russia supplies electricity to Finland. I thought it was just oil, natural gas, and other things. Nope. Apparently it's electricity. Because Finland wants to be part of NATO. This is getting wider and wider and wider. We're seeing how, and we're learning how, are we not? How every country in Europe, it seems, is beholden to Russia for energy. And who caused this? Well, I'll go right back to the World Economic Forum, the Davos, the Klaus Schmitz, right? The Jeff Bezos, the George Soros, the Bill Gateses of the world. All these billionaires, known and unknown, who have participated in pushing Europe to go green, just like Biden in America has the Build Back Better Green New Deal. They got rid of their nuclear power plants, to create an electricity shortage, while they demanded more green energy. So they brought in windmills and solar panels. Fine, but they don't produce enough power. The wind doesn't blow, you ain't got nothing. Lo and behold, folks, now there's an energy crisis in Europe. So let's do something, one more step. There's an energy crisis in Europe? Really? So let's start a war with Russia, who supplies the rest of their energy. Coal, natural gas, oil, and uranium for the remaining nuclear power plants, not in Germany, folks, but in France. And all the other countries around Europe, both Western and Eastern Europe, that have massive amounts of nuclear power. Europe has more nuclear power, I think, than the United States, even though the United States has, percentage-wise, Europe has more. The United States has more altogether, because we're energy hogs over here. Anyways, hey, you know what? F you, Europe. Who do you think is responsible for telling the politicians, giving them campaign contributions? How dare you? Remember when Davos invited Gretchen, the climate Grinch, the little turd, the little girl who showed up to chastise them? How dare you? My life is ruined. Ridiculous shit. They're proving exactly how willing, folks, they are to destroy economies, to destroy our culture, to destroy our laws, to destroy our power grid system, to cause trouble for us so that they can benefit with more control, more power, more everything. Hey, folks, guess what? The House Majority Leader, I know you've never heard of this guy, Steny Hoyer, because you're used to thinking of the House Majority Leader as 90 Proof Nancy. Well, she's the Speaker of the House. While she is the power in the House, they still have a Majority Leader, the same way there's a Minority Leader. McCarthy, the loser, the rhino, the grifter, the backstabber, the screwball. Anyways, the House Majority Leader, Steny Hoyer, showed up and essentially admitted, in fact, he just admitted that we're in a proxy war with Russia, a nuclear superpower, right? For a Friday, through their agent, Steny Hoyer, the World Economic Forum. I think I've established that they control everything. Green New Deal, tear down the country, Europe, America. Yeah, we'll continue to point it out as we go. But for this Friday, the World Economic Forum tells the House Democrat leadership to admit the U.S. government is engaged in war with Russia, fighting a proxy war. And this at a time, folks, when it is seemingly easier to get an abortion and a free crack pipe out of the government than it is to get baby formula, right? Yeah, Jen Sakashite tacitly denies, lightly denied Hoyer's admission as some kind of cover. But the mainstream media is going to spend this weekend, folks, in their continuing efforts to convince the American people that war with Russia, support for Ukraine and our war efforts over there is our nation's number one priority. Just as Mitch McConnell, Senate Republican minority leader, tried telling us this week. So thanks to the World Economic Forum, Soros, Bezos, Gates, Rothschilds, Orange, et cetera, America won't forget any of you nor your puppets when the time comes. I won't forget who these people are. I don't think you will. I don't think anyone's going to forget. It's just how bad are they going to screw things up before someone has to answer for what's happened. So I'll tell you what, it is now your turn, folks, to ask a question. Who's up first? Jolene. Who do we want to run on this free for all Friday? Woo! We got Mikey G. He says the Rhino Republican representative Adam Kitzinger's talk about targeted assassinations got swept under the rug and hushed up. Too sweet. Thoughts? Adam Kitzinger talked about targeted assassinations. So did Rhino Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. We have a lot of different ways this war can be fought. It's fought with energy, it's fought with psychology, it's fought with weapons, it's fought with propaganda, it's fought with everything we can, including, not limited to, folks, sabotage, spies, and assassins. That's right, old school James Bond stuff. It is still on the table. Don't think we've outgrown that. This idea that we can fight the whole war with keyboards and drones. We've proven that doesn't work in Afghanistan. You can't win a war with that stuff. You can influence a war. You can get rid of some people. I think Barack Hussein Barry Sator Obama liked to demonstrate how he could blow up weddings and children's birthday parties with drone attacks, and sometimes get, and sometimes not, the bad guys you're after. So, yeah, they're going to let him get off. They need to keep that kind of stuff more quiet. I think these punks in Congress and the mainstream media, I think they like to think of themselves as more powerful and more important than they truly are. And so they start talking about things they ought not to talk about. Remember, folks, there is this thing called the House Intelligence Committee, which, has, the sexual liaison of a Chinese spy, Fang Fang on that one. That's right, swallows well. These people have a lot of information. I'm sure they know. I'm sure they are taking some educated guesses that there are attempts to take out the political and military opponents of the United States government for their benefactors, of course. Yeah, it's happening, right? They need this, though. They don't want it to come up. Right now, it's my opinion and the opinion of many other people that there was an attempt to assassinate Putin several years ago. It failed. That's interesting, is it not? The banking system wants to get rid of Putin. They need to get rid of Putin. He is a problem. They want to control Russia. Russia has vast resources. Ukraine has vast resources. And if you think that the European Central Bank and the City of London and the Federal Reserve Bank, if you think they're good buddies with China, you got another thing coming. It is my opinion that China wants revenge against the West as much as the West has enjoyed abusing China for the last 500 years. And that China is doing all it can to work with, cajole, backstab Western banking cartels and institutions and corporations. You know, they're using a fascist economic system, but they have a communist control mechanism in place, you know, called socialism. But they'll just flop right over to communism anytime they want. They're back in Russia, folks. This fight is so huge, so incredible. It is huge. It is incredible. You know, this idea that the West and the banking system can win and defeat everybody easily is not true. You know, and they have to be careful. They have to be cautious, or they could end up starting a wider war, if not a nuclear war. And I don't think they really want that, but they're going to try and scare us. Remember, the best way to make you and I do anything is to instill fear in us. Totally instill fear in us. Let us move on. Turkey. I'm not talking Thanksgiving. Turkey, the country. Turkey is not favorable, folks, to having Finland and Sweden in NATO. You know what their excuse is? That they are terror safe havens. Right? NATO's number 2 largest military power, that would be Turkey. The leader, Erdogan, has just come out kind of basically blasting Finland and putting down Sweden as potential memberships or members to NATO. It's like, no, right? Because Erdogan came out and televised comments to reporters describing Finland and Sweden as safe havens for terrorism, folks. Now, this is incredible. Turkey is not favorable regarding the potential membership. Associated Press carried this, right? Citing concerns over political activities of backers of separatist Kurdish militants in both countries. The Kurds, I thought the Kurds were down somewhere between Syria and Iraq. What are the Kurds doing way the hell up there? Anyways, this is what Erdogan said. Quote, Sweden has become a home for PKK and other terror groups. We don't view their NATO membership positively. 2 things. Turkey is NATO's number 2 military? Are you kidding me? I guess that's why they allowed Turkey in. Turkey, actually a long-term buddy, friend, pal of Russia, Putin. Turkey has a bunch of Soviet Russia military equipment and weapons. But Turkey is going to, number 2, Turkey's concerned about Scandinavian nations having too many terror-linked people living up there, like other Turks and Middle Eastern transplants forced into those nations by European Union stupidity and rules. Folks, the pot calls the kettle black here, and the world agrees. How stupid is this SHTF nonsense, huh? Prepare for the worst. Unbelievable, as if having some terrorists inside Finland and Sweden is reason to not allow those countries to become NATO members, right? How many terror cells, how many radical, shall we say, Middle Eastern people in Turkey, radical terrorist cells are in Turkey? How many do you figure, folks? Yet Erdogan isn't worried about that. He's actually closer and has probably more Kurd refugees than anyone else. I'm sure he has Chechen refugees as well that fled, trying to get out and away from Putin when he was purging them. Folks, the pot is calling the kettle black. Now, here's what I see. What do you see? But here's what I see. Erdogan is playing both sides. He could switch anytime he wants. He could. Why? Who's going to stop him? Right? He could say, well, you know what? I decided to be friends with Putin again. What are you going to do about it? He's the second largest military in NATO. I think the United States is number 1 because we're part of NATO. So Turkey is number 2. And they're like, we're number 2. Where did Turkey get all this money for military buildup to be the second largest military power? Oh, yeah, that's right. The drug trade, everything coming through Turkey. That's right. Come on, John. Well, the Turkish lira, their currency is shit. Whoops. There's a lot more going on, folks, than meets the eye. I don't pretend to be a military intelligence political analyst with behind the scenes secret contacts. And I just got a message and, oh, by golly, I'm going to tell you all about it so that you think I'm insider. I'm not an insider, folks. But if you pay enough attention over a long enough period of time, you really do get a good flavor for what the hell is going on. You really do. You can just see it. You can smell it. It's here, right? We're being played, you and I, as Americans. We're being played. We're being played by our own government in the United States, District of Columbia. We're being played by Erdogan. We're being played by Putin. We're being played by Ukraine. We're being played by the medical community. We're being played by the social media community, right? We were told that Musk is going to buy Twitter, and then no, and then yes, and then he's being investigated, and then no, everything's fine. We're being told that Musk is going to buy it, so the left are losing their minds. Oh, by the way, folks, it's not just you and I as patriotic, tax-paying, Bible-thumping, gun-toting, hillbilly, redneck, patriotic Americans. And redneck includes anyone who loves the Constitution and freedom, folks. That's how I tend to use the term, right? Red-blooded American, redneck. Anyways, they're playing the left as stooges and idiots too. They are. They absolutely are. You know, these knuckleheads, they want a war over censorship in this country. They want a war over who's controlling whose thoughts, and they're going to get it. Censorship is very real, and the left is being played as much as the right. They truly are.
Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?
Yes. Well, now, folks, we were told by Elon Musk, late last night, early this morning, that, well, you know, the Twitter deal is on hold. It's on hold. Well, Twitter has been firing left and right, their upper management, executive management, lower management, people getting fired all over the place. Why would they be doing that? Why would the CEO do that, right? The Twitter CEO comes back, and Musk, after saying it's on hold, then he says, well, not really on hold. We expect it to work, right? The CEO of Twitter himself came out and says, quote, he expects the deal to close after all this chaos, right? Musk is trolling them again on the left. He's saying it's on hold, right? If the deal wasn't going to close, why would the CEO be firing so many executives, right? As far as I'm concerned, this is good as done. And the social media war is on. In other words, folks, yes, we're in one after another type of war for us to worry about, for us to fight, while the uber wealthy enact their great reset. We're being played over this baby formula issue. We're being played over it to rile us up, to piss us off, to grossly exaggerate, to under exaggerate. They're playing it both ways, back and forth, to piss off all sides. They just are. That's what they're doing, folks. They're good at it. Just like food factories are burning down. Parents are domestic terrorists. Antifa is just an idea. Even though they're out there threatening people, they're committing more acts of arson, intimidation, terror. Where's the FBI on that?
I worry it could begin to look like intimidation when it's at someone's doorstep. I'm someone.
It's so funny. So does what Alito wrote. Looks the same way to me. Looks like intimidation. Well, and yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
But it also shows Alito what it feels like to lose your freedom of choice. He cannot leave the house easily, so maybe that's a good lesson for them.
Intimidation.
He cannot leave the house. Cannot leave the house. Cannot leave the house. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson for them. To lose your freedom. It's a good lesson for them.
of the same thing.
I kind of like that Biden Hitler fake. That's pretty good. Yep. Intimidation, threats, violence. No problem, says the FBI. It's just an idea. Don't you worry. All right, Jolene, who is up next? We got Vincent Boyle from Belfast, Ireland checking in. This truly is an international broadcast. Just wanted to remind everybody. I want to thank everybody for hitting that super chat button, hitting the thank you button, for supporting us here on Patreon, including old Vincent Boyle from across the pond there. And this is what he has to say. Jolene started a We Prepper group this week. 7 of us in a 20-mile radius. Some beginners, people are waking up. I read this. I thought he was saying Jolene started a prepper group. I'm like, that wouldn't surprise me, but she's in California and Vincent's in Belfast, Ireland. Anyways, you, Vincent, started a we, and for you Americans that don't understand Irish, we means small. He started a small prepper group. 7 people in a 20-mile radius. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Some beginner people are waking up. Yes, they are. You see, when a mosquito bites you, right? You're like, hey, bam, you smack that mosquito. You're like, that hurt, but I'm tough, right? Mosquito can't kill me. When the government starts sucking your blood, you can't smack it away, can you? You're like, hey, that's my blood there, pal. What are you doing? And they're like, hey, we're the government. We have a right to take your effort, your money, your wealth. And by the way, we also have a right to tell you what to do. And by the way, we own you and your house and everything else. The more they push, the more they pull. The more they tug at us, the more they hurt us, the more we're like, hey, that's enough of that shit. I thought we had some kind of rights. I thought we had some kind of liberties. I thought the government was restricted in some fashion. And the government's like, oh, you're still laboring under that old idea of freedom and liberty and the rights of men. You sorry sons of bitches. Don't worry, though. And most people go back to sleep. But when you start getting cold, hungry, when things get so expensive that you can't afford them, you paid your tax. You're like, government, I paid my tax. Why is this stuff getting so expensive over here? What's going on? People are waking up. They're waking up. They're waking up. You bet. I'm glad you're doing that, Vincent. I really am. I think more people should get involved. Find ways to get involved in doing it very carefully. I'm not talking about building some radical militia, but just talking to people that you know about pooling resources. And resources, folks, is also intelligence. It's also intelligence, skills, experience, wisdom, as well as, preps, farming ability, self-defense, right? Pooling resources, pooling knowledge, very important. It goes a long, long ways. All righty, let's do 2 in a row, Jolene. Let's do 2 in a row and fill out the first half hour. We got Ooman. Ooh, he says, I heard about 4 major truck accidents around the Chicago area this week. Does that mean our transportation and distribution system is under attack? Yes, it is. You're being facetious here. Ooh, man, I caught you. This could have been a Stump the John question, couldn't it? But no, here's the deal. Just because we see accidents and stuff doesn't mean a whole lot. Now, here's something associated with trucking, Ooh, man, and I want to thank you for the segue into this. They are now threatening on the east coast of the United States, the eastern half of the United States, that there will be fuel rationing, diesel fuel rationing. Get ready for that, Ooh, man, because I know, like me, you love the diesel power. Diesel fuel rationing. I remember them saying the fuel prices are going up. We have low reserves, and so we're going to open the strategic oil reserves, and then we're going to fill them back up. The government's going to compete against us. And then they said, oh, there's a glut of oil, but still prices went up. What the hell is going on here? And then they say there's going to be shortages of diesel fuel. But I thought I just heard that there is plenty of oil here. Well, if the economy is slowing down somewhat, that means there's not as many trucks out there rolling around. We can't seem to get things out of the ports. What the fuck is really going on, right? What is really going on? And how do you ration diesel fuel? Are you going to say, hey, that semi you're driving, we're only going to give you as much fuel as you can hold? Well, no, we're not going to give you all the fuel you can hold. We're going to give you 100 miles worth of diesel. And the truck driver's going to be like, I've got a load to take 500 miles in one direction. That means I need 100 gallons of fuel, minimum. And they're going to be like, F you. I mean, really, this makes sense? It doesn't make any sense. Trucks are going to be sitting on the side of the highway out of fuel. They're just going to be parked. This is going to create more shortages. It's going to create more inflation. Thanks, Joe Biden. You know, do we have a trucking crisis that's real? No. Right, but do we have a manufactured fuel crisis? The answer is yeah, it's manufactured. I remember 10 years ago, 20 years ago, while I was in California, that there would be a fuel, like a refinery fire. The refinery fire, the Tosco or the Chevron or the Shell refinery over in the Bay Area in California caught on fire. It's down for repairs. Or even one in Texas or somewhere else in the Gulf states, having nothing to do with west of the Rockies fuel, our fuel prices would go sky high. Right? And there was never, ever was there declared a shortage or any need to ration fuel. It was just, yeah, we got a fire there, so they're going to be down for a few days while they repair it. Where they're doing repairs, it's only going to be a few days. No one panicked. The fuel price went up because of speculators speculating, putting a speculator, never mind, right? Speculators. I haven't heard of any refineries, folks, shut down. I haven't heard of any refineries catching on fire. Why is there a shortage of diesel fuel? I haven't heard that shipments from Russia aren't coming this way still. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. And now I want to jump back into this Roe v. Wade thing. Justice Alito, right? Samuel Alito came out and spoke, and this was the headline. He speaks about the historic Supreme Court leak for the first time. No, he didn't. It was actually a bunch of clickbait, headline, no news shit. But although Alito said nothing about the leaked draft of tossing Roe v. Wade in the trash and giving authority back to the states where it should have been all along, the FBI in this article showed itself to be 100% inept. The Supreme Court isn't a megalithic monstrosity of bureaucratic size and proportion like the Pentagon, right? So this leaker, folks, should have been found within like an hour by the FBI, going in and checking people's phone records and email records. And how about this? Start with those who have the most to gain by this, right? It's called motive. They used to teach motive in law enforcement school. Now, since the leaker has not been found in the first hour or even the first week, we can see that this is not a criminal investigation. The FBI is not 100% inept after all, but rather the opposite. This leaker is being given protection and anonymity as a whistleblower. That's my opinion, folks. The left is thinking of this person as a whistleblower. Thanks for letting that out. We needed to know the truth ahead of time so we can get all of our political ideas in place in front of their houses and firebombing shit. Yep. Leak something to help the DC scum Democrats and their agenda. You get protection, not prosecution. Surprise? Literally, are you surprised by this? That the FBI couldn't figure it out? How many people had access to this? Pretty easy stuff. Pretty easy stuff. Unbelievable, stunning what these people are continuing to do to our country to tear it down, folks. Tear it down. You know, where do we go from here, right? Where do we go from here? Are things going to get better? Are things going to get worse? Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense? Do you have a plan? Right? I've been continuing to tell people, go to the club, thepreparedmind.club. Get what you need, whether it's communications equipment, self-defense equipment, tools, freedom seeds, etc. Whether it's food or water purification, we've got food dryers, right? Harvest Right equipment. We need, all of us need to be fully prepared. It's really important. These people are not stopping. This is a full-on, multifaceted, from every angle war. Psychological, propaganda, military, legal. It's an educational war. It's a political war. And inside all of these facets, folks, are shills and trolls and dead ends and lies. But if you felt like this was just a sham, that there's really no SHTF, where did you get a sense that things are normal? What's going on today is so far from normal, folks. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Let's do this. Let's get to one more of your question, then I'll move on with some things that I really want to talk about. Who's Your Life checks in and says, NASA warns an asteroid is bigger than the Empire State Building heading toward us. Fear, fear, fear. It's only going to miss us by 3.6 million miles, douchebags. Well, now here's the deal. You got the Earth. It is 8,000 miles across, according to astrophysicists and Christopher Columbus, I guess. 8,000 miles across. The moon, let's see, here's the Earth. The moon is 1/6 the size of the Earth, and it is over 230,000 miles away. Basically, there's, let's see, 8, 4, yeah, like 40 Earths between. It's huge. It's a wide thing, but 3.6 million miles. The distance from the Earth to the moon, multiply that by 10. Thing is hell and gone away from us, but they do want the fear. Now, what NASA did do years and years ago is they had the head of the Space Administration. He came out and he warned the NASA family to get prepared for an event, something extremely dangerous and bad. And nothing happened. Nothing came to pass. And there was never any mainstream media coverage of that or explanation afterwards what the hell they were talking about. I don't expect NASA to tell us anything if something was actually going to hit us. Like, how did they miss that big giant motherfucking rock that slammed into Russia several years ago? It actually wasn't that big, right? What did they say that thing was the size of? Like a school bus, but it exploded and was very loud. Broke a lot of windows. Yeah, crazy stuff, right? So NASA's warning us. We just need one more thing, I guess. Thanks, Who's Your Life. We needed one more thing to worry about. Oh my gosh. I've got so many stories here, right? Unbelievable, right? Russia. Captured Ukrainian territories will soon ask to join Russia, says the state media over there. I bring this up because there's something on every side. There is so much propaganda out here. How do we figure out who is telling the truth, right? How do we figure out who's telling the truth? Right? They're afraid of us, incredibly afraid of us, right? They're afraid of the right. They keep saying we're going to commit, terrifying acts of violence. Yet this week, and I haven't talked about this yet, the very outspoken Virginia Attorney General, his office had a bullet, kind of come through a window, because he promised to defend churchgoers from unruly pro-abortion protesters. These protesters are committing acts of violence. They're committing acts of arson. They're threatening people by phone. They've shot through the window of the state attorney general, and they've been joined by Satanists, literal temple of Satan types. They have a literal church. Yeah, and they're out saying that abortion is a religious sacrament to them. Unbelievable, unfreaking believable. And they're not quitting. They're not going away. This is who they are, folks. This is what they want. Right? They're promising us, right, increasingly extreme tactics of violence. Number one, okay, we hear you. Number two, okay, we're prepared. I hope you are too. Number three, okay, we have a plan. Okay, we're ready. And number five, okay, it's showtime, bitches, right? Let's see what you have, Antifa, BLM, and any other Marxist mofos. It's getting crazy. People on both sides are getting riled up. Now, my thought on this is, once again, we're being played. We're being played. Each side, the media plays each side. The mainstream media, folks, you're not watching it. So who is? The leftists. They're over here on the left going, we're so scared of the right because the media tells us that. And the right-wing people, okay, let's call them the right wing. How about patriots and freedom lovers? We're over here going, we see what you're doing and it's un-American, and we're all riled up. Right? So the people in charge at the top are riling up both sides against each other and against the government. Unbelievable. And they just keep doing it. They're not going to quit. They're not going to quit, right? What do you guys want to talk about? Jolene, who do we have next? I broke that on you pretty quick there. We got Do Be Kind. Says, hey, Big John, the ES Lane EC refugees into all the blonde nations is serious. All of the Middle Eastern and African and other refugees is who he's talking about. All of the third world dregs, right? They're being stuffed into Europe, what he's calling the blonde nations. It's serious, yeah. People have forgot that in 30 years, Sweden and other blonde nations will be different. That's the plan. It truly is. I had this discussion today with somebody. They're like, what is the plan here? What's the point of doing all this? Well, they need to destroy Europe, folks, as much as they need to destroy the United States of America. This is a very important topic. It's like, what's the point of destroying all these countries if the rich people, they get destroyed? You see, they don't want to destroy the businesses, the infrastructure, the power plants. They don't want to destroy the farms. They just want to stop production and screw it up so that the economies falter, so that the people go into disarray, right? Someone help us, save us, please. Government, do something, right? And the government's going to say, well, the system we have, the Constitution, it's too old and antiquated. It's not flexible enough to allow us to make the changes needed to get us through these hard times. So let's get rid of it. Right now in Europe, they're doing the same thing. So what you need to do is you need to bring in all the scumbags you can to consume the resources, food, right? Entitlement money. And it drags down the nation's wealth. It drags down the economy. It destroys the moral fiber of a country, right? You're going to tell me all the raping of European women by Middle Easterners and Africans coming out of Northern Africa isn't having a detrimental effect, while the people are being told, yeah, you need to respect these people from these other countries and accept their culture, right? They're destroying the culture. They're bypassing the laws. They're doing all they can, folks, to destroy Europe the same way they're destroying America. It's for the Great Reset. It's for the Great Reset. Well, what about the Jim Jones juice, John? Yeah, guess who's getting that? All the idiots, all the dumbasses. Well, that leaves us, the smart people. That's correct. You have a better chance of surviving than the dumbasses because you're prepared. Well, why would they want us to survive, right? After destroying our country and destroying the businesses, destroy. Well, because they're going to institute a new system of governance. That's their plan. They've stated it. They need to get rid of a big swath of the population. They need to get rid of our old institutions and morals. Our idea that we have rights and that we're free and that we run the countries. Remember, folks, these rich people in charge were rich 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago. These are the aristocrats, the royals, if you will. They when they stepped out of power after, the United States of America was formed, after defeating, right, England, and then the French cut off the heads of King Louis and as many aristocrats as they could catch. They were like, hey, you guys you can be in charge of yourselves. You can have democracy and you can vote and you're free. You have rights. That's what all the aristocrats across Europe started saying because they kept getting their heads chopped off. They kept getting killed. They were like, we don't need to get killed over this. Let's just let them, be in charge of themselves. They kept their wealth. And what did they do? As the Industrial Revolution and the increase in, shall we say, productivity, knowledge, and industrial power grew, those rich aristocrats bought the corporations. They financed the banks. They started buying the politicians. That's right. All the freaking sellouts we have today, trust me, 200 years ago, they were just as willing to sell out their country. Now, not to the extent they are today. They'd be like, yeah, we'll pass that law to make your corporation better off, more protected. We'll give you some special deals. Thanks for that money. Thanks for that money, rich person. Thanks for that money, aristocrat. Thanks for that money, royal person. We'll do some things that are more amenable to you and your cause. But the people still are in charge of themselves. They're still free, right? Oh, yeah, okay, then everything's fine. I'll take your bribery. And they've been being bribed from day one all the way till now. And corporations, they're rich-backed corporations, right? Corporations like Rockefeller's Standard Oil, they did not come about because he was out there drilling oil wells by hand. You read his books, and I did when I was in my 20s. Rockefeller said he borrowed millions and millions of dollars. This is in the 1860s, folks, 1870s. 1880s. He's borrowing millions and millions of dollars at a time when millions was like billions today. Who has the ability to go knock on someone's door and borrow billions of dollars? Well, apparently John J. Rockefeller. Right? This is the uber rich financing the industrialization and the corporate takeover of the world. And the government, they're just there to convince us that we have control of ourselves and our laws. But now that is played out. Okay, that is played out. That's what this Great Reset is about. It is played out. They have so much technology and weaponry, they can control us, either with military force or psychologically, they think. They can control us with food and fuel and power. And they need to kill off a bunch of us. Hello, Jim Jones juice, right? The government wants us terrified. They need to destroy the American system of governance, the Constitution, so they can substitute the new set of rules, this Great Reset. So a lot of people have to die. We have to have lots of war. They don't want nuclear war. That makes things bad for them too. But they can threaten us with it. This is what's going on. They want to teach kids to hate the country, critical race theory. They want to teach kids to hate themselves and cut off their own genitals. What? They want to bring people from Central, South, and America and Mexico into our country. Why? They're not going to be great workers in factories and engineers and hard. No, No, these people are brought here as parasites and bussed and flown all over the country by the Biden administration to drag down our system. Those people could just as soon be killed by the Democrats or put on buses and sent back over the border later when they're no longer needed. They're useful idiots. Same with Europe. They brought all those people up there to breed and make a bunch more of them. But essentially, folks, they're there to destroy European culture, European laws, European sovereignty of all the nations. They need that sovereignty destroyed. Britain, England rather, got out of, the UK got out of the European Union with their Brexit. They know it's not good for them, but they're going to keep pushing this, folks. The World Economic Forum, billionaires, aristocrats, royal families, mega corporations that they own are funding all of this. They're laundering money in nations that are, well, third world in nature, but they're putting all their money and wealth over there. They're hiding all of their wealth, folks. They're hiding everything they've stolen. $8.3 billion, says Nazinski, Voldemort. I'm sure there's a lot more money been funneled through there. That's why they're trying to hide it. Why are so many U.S. politicians in the Republican Party even so all for protecting Ukraine when the truth is right in front of everyone's face as to how this all came about? It's because they're dirty. It's because they're controlled. That's why we have SHTF, folks. That's why we have it. These politicians have been bought and paid for over and over again, and there's just no getting away from it. We're going to have more trouble, more SHTF. All right, let's do this. I've been ranting and ranting and ranting. What do you guys want to talk about? We got Cottage Farm checking in, says, it's like King George is still ruling America. Maybe Americans will have a renewed love for the Declaration of Independence. That has been something incredible to them, folks. Thank you, Cottage Farm, for this. You're just going to allow me to rant some more. The Declaration of Independence is such a powerful document. It's been a bedrock part of the United States of America since its penning, since John Hancock, right, put his giant signature on there, right, telling the king, "You're number one," only he used his middle finger, right? John Hancock. All these other great patriots, statesmen, Freemasons, etc., that created the Declaration of Independence, brought this philosophy of freedom to the forefront so the world could get out from under the control of these aristocrats. And here we are years later, pow, 2 centuries plus, back in their grasp again. Just like George H.W. Bush said, right? The president, not George W. Bush, but his dad. And he's like, the long-held vision of a new world order is gonna happen, dang it. Like, that's what he was saying. They've been trying to get this power back that was stolen away from them, that was proclaimed in the Declaration of Independence. They've fought and struggled and got their way back with centralized banking. That's right, the ECB here in America, the Federal Reserve in 1913, by the way, was voted for on Christmas Eve. Who the hell votes for anything on Christmas Eve in Washington, D.C.? A bunch of bought-off, paid politicians. And oh, by the way, they didn't have a legitimate quorum for that vote either. How was it law? You know, but the Declaration of Independence, right? It's still there. You can still get copies of it. That is why they're attacking us with the educational system. That is why they're attacking us with critical race theory, saying European, white, racist, white supremacy, Nazi, bad stuff is what Europe and America is all about. We have to abandon that. It's bad. Africans have been enslaving Africans, and Asians have been enslaving Asians, and Middle Easterners have been enslaving Middle Easterners, and South Americans have been, and all these places around the world have continued to enslave one another and harm one another and kill one another and act in a very racist fashion towards one another. And we're supposed to believe that the white people are the bad ones only. They're the bad guys. Sorry, folks. What they're trying to do is destroy legal systems that recognize our rights. So it is going to be us. Ultimately, it's going to be us. Anyone who hasn't gotten jabbed, you have the best chance of having a good immune system and health. And you've demonstrated that you use an intelligent mind to discern between lies and truth. And you understand and remember the Declaration of Independence, that it says, we have a right and a duty to overthrow a government and establish new protections for our liberties. We know the First and Second Amendments the best. We need to reestablish the point and purpose of the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, and that the government, if it has a case to make against us, has to do it on its own, and it can't use our papers against us. This whole thing, folks, is a giant destruction effort on our culture. But yes, the Declaration of Independence, so powerful, it's been used by communists. That's right, folks. Even communists have used it to push their communist Marxist ideas. And of course, modifying it, bastardizing it, and perverting the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam had his own version of the Declaration of Independence. He used it for the foundation for his communist revolution. And folks, actually, they tried communism as an experiment. They wanted to see if they could control the people with communism. But the rich people, whoops, like communism, pure communism, steals their property. Right? The bourgeoisie, they lose their shit. And so they decided that fascism or corporatism, even on a global scale known as globalism, right, was the best model for them to operate by. It's the most productive because people think they can get ahead, but they are ultimately totally controlled by the socialist super state. Well, England is a socialist state. Why aren't they as bad as Russia or the Soviet Union? Well, because they're not pure communism. It's a different type. It's socialism, where the people are ultimately controlled and owned. But before they can get there, including here in the United States, they have to wrestle away from us our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence and convince us that they're outdated, that they're an anachronism, that they were useful for a time, but they're too archaic. They're too inflexible. They're dangerous, in fact, coming from white racist slave owners. Right? But when you apply those principles to all men and all women, that we're all created equal and endowed by God with inalienable rights, that is to say, rights that cannot be taken away by another man or another institution like government. As soon as you say that, right, we're endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights. All of a sudden, everything the U.S. government says, everything the state government says, doesn't matter. They have no power and authority over us except in the area of criminal prosecution. So what are they doing? They're calling everyone criminals. They're calling people insurrectionists so that they can turn around and investigate them and harass them and frame them and have mock trials if they ever get to trials, right? Like the January 6th protesters. Parents are terrorists. Right-wing extremists are on watch lists and dangerous. You're going to allow yourself to be arrested on some bullshit charge so that they can hold a mock trial if they ever get there, after they continuously threaten you for over a year with life in prison for jaywalking or some ridiculous crime? No, see, that's just it. They want to remove our declaration and convince us that it's not real and that it doesn't mean exactly what it says. Now, am I calling for insurrection? No. Am I calling for violence? No. Do I want people to do anything harmful or dangerous? No. This is a channel about satire. But like all good humor, having truth and fact as foundation makes it all the more interesting, entertaining, and sometimes even funny. No one said you have to be rolling on the floor for satire to be humor, right? Because when you see it, you're like, oh man, now I totally see it. I better get prepared. Are you ready? Right? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Do you have a plan? I sure hope so. Opie Waddell checks in. He says, John, tell them to get a silver generator, colloidal and ionic. Tell them, pay attention, damn it. For the purposes of health, look into a colloidal silver generator. They're inexpensive. And from what the experts are saying, silver has terrific medicinal qualities. Silver is used in the manufacturing and production of lots of medical equipment because it has antiviral properties. Why is it that wealthy people live longer than other people, 200, 300, 400 years ago? Well, they ate off of silverware, silver spoons, forks, right? They're always getting little bits of silver in their bodies, right? Silver, it helped them health-wise. Now we eat off of stainless steel. Well, that's fine, it's clean, it's good, but it's not silver. Colloidal silver, great idea. Silver as an investment, great idea. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Those are some precious metals there. Lead, copper, brass, and cold blue steel. Folks, we got a lot of trouble coming. Are you prepared? We'll be back Sunday night for Sunday Night Live, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time. I want to see everyone there. I want to see everyone participating in the comments section. I want to see great questions about all the shit that's going to happen this weekend, all the stuff that's happened this week, and everything that we can see coming up in the next week, because we're no longer blind. The more you open your eyes to what has been done, the more you're going to see ahead of you, out in front, what is coming, and you can be prepared. You can put yourself in advisable positions in order to deal with what's coming, right? I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart, from my soul. Thank you for supporting, sponsoring this channel, whether it's with emails and information about news that's out there, or those of you who are financially sponsoring it, especially you on Patreon. Thank you so much for all you do. And I'll see you on Sunday Night Live, signing off on the Free for All Friday. You guys be cool, be safe. Chance favors the prepared mind. I know you are prepared. Godspeed and God bless America. Our laws, our Declaration, our Constitution, law and order, everything that's good and wholesome about our country. We need more of that and less of this other stuff that's going on. We got a lot of SHTF, so get ready.